very good evening to you this Monday, the 8th day of April 2019. Thank you so much for making the time to join us, and we have a lot lined up for you this evening. But first, our highlights.
Tonight, they dress like police, arrest like police, then shoot at the real police. 3 imposter cops shot dead in Machakos. Also tonight.
Hi, Hilary Mutiambai.
It's official, there is a new sheriff in town. Hilary Mutiambai, sworn in as Inspector General of Police.
I am conversant with the security threats our country still faces.
Ahead. Not the easiest to swallow, but we tell you why your ugali will soon cost more. Plus, the divided stand on the implications of the ODM by-election losses.
The two by-elections are really like a drop of water in the ocean. ODM remains a very strong and united party.
This candidate decided to make this a national campaign where they're going to impeach somebody, they're going to do those things, all those things they said. They forgot that this was a very small by-election.
ODM needs to think, how strong can we stand? If Raila Odinga wasn't there, what would happen to ODM?
NTV Tonight with Zainab Ismail.
Thank you for joining us. Our sign language interpreter this evening is David Agondoa, and we begin with the story of the Thugs in Blue. A group of 5 men who have been practicing and had even perfected the art of impersonation, but today their con game caught up with them. 3 out of the gang of 5 were today shot dead by detectives after the public complained of harassment. The men have been impersonating traffic police officers along major roads.
The impersonators certainly looked the part as they acted out their role, donning traffic police officer uniforms, topped with a policeman's hat and even a pistol. The men would allegedly handcuff their victims before stealing their vehicles. According to the DCI, detectives who acted after complaints by previous victims ordered the men to surrender along the Machakos-Kitui Road, but they opened fire on the officers.
Watu 3 walikuwa wamevaa uniform na watu 2 walikuwa wanavaa nguo raia. Polisi wakaweza kuweka ambush na wezi walipokuja waliweza kuteka ile gari ya kwanza kuelekea pande ya Kitui, waliweza kuteka nyara. Akaeleza sisi ni polisi, wale gari yako inakimbia. Muda si muda akawekwa pingu. Wale polisi walikuwa mpasha habari wakachokelezea, akaweza kuwa wezi 3 ambao walikuwa na uniform ya polisi na 2 wakaweza kukimbia.
The detectives, however, gunned down 3 of the men and recovered ammunition, stolen vehicles and rescued a handcuffed victim.
Kalisikia mlio wa risasi. Dakika kidogo watu wakapitia. Wakatuambia kuna wezi wako kwa barabara wanafuatana na maaskari. Sasa ukimbia hapo tukapata 2 wamewekwa chini, ule mwingine amebuliwa karibu na mbaya mwenyewe hapo karibu ndani. Sasa dakika kidogo watu wakajaa, maaskari wakajaa. Kwa hivyo wao maaskari wamefanya kazi poa sana.
2 gang members managed to escape and a manhunt is on to find them.
Now, Hilary Mutiambai takes over as the Inspector General of Police to what Chief Justice David Maraga describes as a grueling responsibility. He comes into office at a time when the discovery of thousands of ghost workers show just how deeply embedded corruption remains in the National Police Service. Mutiambai is also tasked with carrying forward the reforms initiated during his predecessor's term.
Hilary Mutiambai can only hope that in 4 years' time, he receives the same honor and does not find himself sneaking out the back door. The first Inspector General of Police, David Kimayo, bowed out of office prematurely, with a cloud of a poorly managed Westgate attack response hanging over him. Given Mutiambai's intelligence background, the consensus appears to be that there couldn't be a man better suited for the job.
You came highly recommended. As a former policeman, I won't call you a former policeman, I'll call you as a person who has grown up in the service, but who has also had the opportunity and exposure in other security-related departments.
Mutyambai has to deal with what is arguably the enemy within. The recently concluded biometric registration of police revealed that over R1 billion in taxpayer money was lost annually as pay for non-existent officers, 2,648 ghost workers to be exact.
As I assume the office of the Inspector General, I am conversant with the security threats our country still faces, especially the threat of terrorism, organized crime, corruption, cattle rustling, among others.
Mutyambai is also tasked with carrying forward the reforms and reorganization overseen by President Kenyatta in the interest of a smoother, more transparent operation.
You know fully well we're in a process of both transition and reform in order to ensure that we are truly going to have a service ile abide by your motto of utumishi kwa wote.
I'll be keen to implement the National Police Service Information Management System, which digitizes the occurrence book and the case file management system. This will enable members of the public to track the process of their complaints and enable them give us feedback and compliments.
Mutyambai has also cast himself as a fierce advocate of those in his ranks, vowing to see a National Police Service Referral Hospital realized, as well as the overdue promotions awarded and the right to dignified housing met.
Police officers have the rights too, which must be respected. I will stand by officers who discharge their duties firmly and fairly, without fear, favor, or ill will, but will equally deal with those who abuse police powers and privileges.
It is my prayer that the Lord will give you the strength and the health and the wisdom to discharge the functions of your office.
Olive Barrows, NTV.
Well, here is some quick information about the new police boss who's swearing in marks a new era at the National Police Service. Hilary Nzioki Mutyambai was born in 1964 in Mwala, Machakos County. He joined the police service, as it was known back then, the Kenya Police, in 1991. He then rose to the rank of Superintendent of Police and joined the Intelligence Service in 1998. He was then promoted to the rank of Deputy Director Counter-Terrorism. Mutyambai holds a Master's of Arts degrees in National Security Policy from the Australian National University. He served as Kenya's political attaché in Uganda between the years 2000 and 2004. At the time of his nomination as IG, he was attached to the Counter-Terrorism Centre. Mutyambai told Parliament he is worth 30 million shillings. All right, and away from that and to other stories making headlines, the government's National Crime Research Centre now says the borders are a national security threat, as they have been directly linked to a number of crimes and accidents that have caused deaths and untold anguish. The government says they are a killer on wheels, taking lives through recklessness and disregard for rules. NTV's Seth Olale sifts through the findings provided by the state agency on the two-wheeler killers.
This chilling video footage of 5 armed suspects robbing a woman outside an M-Pesa outlet just 2 weeks ago in Mombasa is just a snapshot of a bigger, grim picture of just how the two-wheelers facilitate crime in the country. A report by the National Crimes Research Centre on the border motorcycle transport and security situation in the country paints an even more bleak picture. It directly links the border transport subsector to crimes committed at various locations in the country.
This thing was introduced for good reasons, to help our young people who are unemployed. And we want to support them. I want them to know across the country, border riders, that in us, they are very strong supporters on one condition, that they operate in an orderly manner and that they follow the law and guidelines that we shall give at the end of the work of that task force. Otherwise, we are going to surrender ourselves to untold anarchy and chaos that we can't deal with.
According to the report, the border borders are mainly death traps, causing deaths and injuries due to reckless and dangerous riding.
Na nilikuwa nimefika kando ya barabara. Saa kidogo pikipiki kanigonga. Nikaanguka. Sana sikuona kitu ingine tena.
The riders are also involved in a number of crimes that have resulted in death, including theft, assault, robbery with violence, kidnappings and abductions, murder and rape. The riders are the main perpetrators of these crimes, but their passengers also play a significant part in their commission. The study that was done in 2018 blames unemployment, poverty, drug and substance abuse for the spike in the number of border-related crimes.
There are no two ways about it. We have to change the way in which we operate. And I do this with conviction that there is nothing we cannot do as a people once we have resolved that this is how we are going to do it right.
But apart from the deaths they cause and the broken lives they leave behind, they are also blamed for loss of property, insecurity, an increase in the number of cases of teen moms and school dropouts. The state agency recommends a mandatory registration and training for all border operators, including setting up training schools. It also calls for a strict enforcement of government policy and rules. Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i has ruled out any extension for the implementation of the border guidelines and reforms set to be effected on May 1st, 2019. A state agency in the same ministry cautions that the situation could explode out of control if regulations are not put in place in order to weed out criminals hiding in the border subsector. Seth Olale, NTV, Nairobi.
And to a story that personifies the true scale of devastation that road accidents cause. Joseph Wambua and his wife Catherine Wambua were among 7 people who lost their lives after the vehicle they were traveling in was involved in an accident in Kitui County yesterday. The accident has now robbed a family of the head as the couple left behind 4 children. NTV's Sharon Baranga has the story.
At the home of the late Joseph Wambua and his wife Catherine Wambua in Kayole Estate, Nairobi, the atmosphere is that of solemn reflection. The cruel sting of death has left this family distraught. The 4 children now sit among the sea of distraught neighbors here to console them after their father and mother died in a road accident.
Wakienda walikuwa wametuambia watarudi jana usiku, Sunday usiku. Juadi walikuwa wamebeba funguo za gate. Mara ya kwanza nilikuwa nadhani ni mamangu amekufa pekee. But ikambo ni wote.
Joseph Wambua and his wife were among 7 people who lost their lives after a 14-seater matatu they were traveling in was involved in an accident at Ikutha town along the Kitui-Kibwezi Road in Kitui County. This, the grim and cruel legacy of road carnage that continues to tear families apart.
Na venye ilifika kwa hiyo soko iko karibu na nyumbani, ilianguka, ikaroll 4 times, ikaua.
The couple were pastors at the Glory Celebration Center in Kayole. A majority of those affected by the accident were members of the church who had traveled to Ikutha for a dowry payment ceremony for the pastor's niece. It was to be the beginning of another chapter for their loved one, but that meant an end to their own. 8 people are currently receiving treatment at the Ikutha Level 4 Hospital and the Kitui County Referral Hospital. 2 people succumbed while undergoing treatment. Sharon Baranga, NTV.
And away from that sad story, the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital has moved to defend its handling of the late Evelyn Namukhula. the mother of quintuplets who passed on at the facility yesterday. Namukhula died suddenly after developing complications about a month after she made the headlines for delivering 5 babies at a go. 2 of the babies have since passed away.
A post-mortem examination carried out on the body of the late Evelyn Namukhula indicates that her sudden death yesterday was as a result of post-delivery complications.
Peripartum cardiomyopathy. This is a known complication that can arise after delivery, and the actual cause is not really understood.
The pathologist says the condition is more common in women with multiple births, as was Evelyn's case.
Dilated cardiomyopathy happens spontaneously from nowhere, and so there was no negligence.
The hospital says that she had recovered fully, but her continued stay at the hospital had been informed by the condition of her babies, who still needed extra medical care. Indeed, her mother says she was in relatively good spirits for the better part of Saturday.
Tunaonga na msichana wangu mzuri, tutakula mzuri, taenda na watoto, anakamua, mimi naenda kulisha watoto mzuri, 7 mpaka saa 3 usiku. Unasikia? Saa 6 usiku tunaenda kwa nasari. Unaenda kwa njia na anasema, mama, nasikia kifua inauma sana, hawezi kutembea.
Prior to her demise, she had lost her 2 boys 10 days ago due to their low birth weight and the neonatal sepsis infection that they had when they were brought in. The family of the deceased is now asking for help to take her body back home to Kakamega for burial. Brenda Wanga, NTV.
Now, ODM party leader Raila Odinga says he is not so concerned about the party's losses in Ugenya and Embakasi South by-elections. According to Raila, the best candidates won, and it should not be interpreted that ODM's strength in the Nyanza region is waning. At the same time, Ugenya Member of Parliament-elect David Ochieng has said he would use his win to popularize his party, MDG, and cut a niche for himself. NTV's political affairs reporter Kennedy Mureithi with the details.
Okay. The ODM party has come under scrutiny after losses in the Ugenya and Embakasi South by-elections. The party leader Raila Odinga affirmed all was right, warning that the results should not be overly interpreted.
There are no issues at all in ODM. There are no differences in our party. The 2 by-elections are really like a drop of water in the ocean. ODM remains a very strong and united party.
Talk of disquiet within ODM circles has been rife, and the losses are just part of what has come to the fore.
People may be commenting here and there, and that's their democratic rights. Elections are won or lost. So the fact that somebody has lost an election is not a big deal. It's not a big issue.
In the Ugenya by-election, Siaya Senator James Orengo drove the agenda for the campaigns as a senior-ranking member of the ODM party and the county's senator. In Embakasi South, the party's Secretary-General Edwin Sifuna led the campaigns with the aim of snatching the seat from their coalition partners, Wiper Party.
The other party and its candidate decided to make this a national campaign where they're going to impeach somebody, they're going to do those things, all those things they said. They forgot that this was a very small by-election.
Orengo and Sifuna have received a share of blame for the losses. In some quarters, there were murmurs that Orengo had fallen out with Raila over how the Ugenya campaigns were being carried out.
The way that party conducts its affairs in Nyanza is so opaque. It is basically a very lazy way of campaigning. That instead of addressing issues that matter to the people, you decide that you're going to mudsling, you're going to smear and just throw that at people.
Orengo was campaigning for ODM. Orengo is a very loyal member of ODM. There's nothing, only positive issues about Honorable James Orengo.
Ochieng, the Ugenya MP-elect, says he'll use his win to spread his movement for democracy and growth party's ideologies in the Nyanza region. Ochieng says the region is yearning for a different style of politics and leadership.
Nyanza isn't anybody's tough, in my opinion. Nyanza, just like the rest of the world, the rest of the country, is subject to the constitution that allows for multi-party democracy. And so if multi-party is good in Coast and is good in Rift Valley and is good in Central, it definitely must be good in Nyanza.
Outside of Raila Odinga, ODM needs to think how strong can we stand. If Raila Odinga wasn't there, what would happen to ODM? I think that's a question we need to ponder.
But even as David Ochieng plans to spread his party's gospel to the whole of Nyanza with the hope of netting more converts, he still contends that he will follow in the footsteps of Raila Odinga and James Orengo, whom he insists have taught him so much in the political world. Kennedy Mureithi, NTV in Nairobi County.
Well, to news from the courts now, and controversial preacher James Nganga has moved to court to stop his prosecution over the 3.6 million shilling fraud claim. In a suit filed at the High Court, the claims the criminal investigations against him are based on a civil dispute over a 7-bedroom house in Nairobi's Karen Estate, and that the complainant, Wixon Njoroge Mwadhi, has been using with the help of police to settle personal scores. He claims the matter has caused him mental and psychological anguish as his security is under threat. The case will come up again for a mention on Tuesday. Elsewhere, 3 people, among them a policeman, were charged with robbery with violence for stealing construction material from the Northern Water Collection Tunnel project in Murang'a County. The 3, Silas Kipkoech Koskei, an administration policeman attached to Kigoma Sub-County, Peter Kilele and Ezekiel Maina, are accused of robbing Julius Wanyama of a mobile phone and stealing construction material worth about 3 million shillings while armed with a G3 rifle. The 3 denied the charges and were released on a 1 million shillings bond. And a case challenging the nomination of Professor Tom Ojienda and Gathi Irungu to run as the male LSK representatives to the JSC will be heard in the next 10 days. This is after a lawyer went to court to challenge their nomination on grounds that they were not tax compliant and had presented their nomination papers after the deadline. And as Ken Mijungo reports, this will be the 3rd attempt to lock the 2 out of the 5-man race.
Weeks after the Law Society of Kenya Council gave Professor Tom Ojienda and Gathi Irungu a lifeline following the disputed nominations by a section of members of the society, the dispute has found its way to court. When Godfrey Maina, a lawyer and a member of the society, moved to court seeking to quash the decision by the Law Society of Kenya, LSK had accepted the nomination of Professor Ojienda for election as the male representative to the Judicial Service Commission for a term of 5 years. It had also accepted the nomination of Gathi Irungu to run for the same position, even though, according to the complainant, he presented his application late and also failed to attach required documents, including clearance certificates. Godfrey Maina told Justice Pauline Nyamweya that LSK ignored the report of an independent vetting body which established that Professor Ojienda failed to meet the mandatory tax compliance requirements. During the LSK Council deliberations, a decision was reached not to bar Ojienda from running on this ground, since it's not the work of the Law Society to supervise tax collection. Ojienda told LSK that he had never had issues with the Kenya Revenue Authority until last year, when KRA declined to clear him. This decision, however, angered a few members, prompting a review meeting held by the council, and at the end of the day, 7 members declined to review the decision that ensured that all the 5 contestants would have their day at the ballot. 1 member of the council abstained, while 5, including the president, pushed unsuccessfully for a review. The court has directed that the petitioner serves all parties to the dispute before the submissions on the 17th of this month. The election will be conducted by the IEBC on the 9th of next month. Ken Mijungu, NTV.
All right, and that report there by Ken Mijungu will be taking us to a quick break here on NTV tonight. But when we come back, a lot lined up for you. Well, thank you so much for staying with us. The tribunal that will be investigating allegations against Justice Jackton Juang has been sworn in and will begin its work as soon as the chair, Justice Al-Nashir Visram, convenes the meeting that will set the ground rules. The tribunal will now set the date when it will begin its work and dispatch summons to the potential witnesses. The tribunal, however, has no specific time frame to conclude its work, but must report to the president within 10 days after it wraps up. Justice Jackton Juang said he was ready to face his accusers and had wanted the hearings held in public.
Having been appointed under Article 168 this is an important constitutional responsibility to which we have been assigned. And on behalf of my team, the newly appointed commission, I simply want to commit to the people of Kenya that we will discharge our duties fully and faithfully in accordance with the law, with the oath of office that we have taken today.
This is to facilitate a fair hearing and ensure a fair process. Members of the tribunal, you've been bestowed with this responsibility, and for me it's just to wish you the best.
The Ministry of Agriculture has pumped at least 450 million shillings into the construction and rehabilitation of 31 community dams and thousands of household water pans across the country in preparation for the long rains. Our reporter Victor Kiprop visited some of these dams and examines their capacity to boost food production amid a prolonged drought that has already killed tens of people and hundreds of livestock.
In the wake of relentless climate change that has already disrupted rainfall patterns, Kenya's dependence on rain-fed agriculture that accounts for about 25% of the country's gross domestic product has raised concerns.
To this end, the Agriculture Ministry is looking to put more land under irrigation in a bid to boost food production. But with regular dams proving costly and time-consuming to construct, the government is opting for smaller community dams and water pans.
The government is transiting its citizens, the people of Kenya, from rain-fed agriculture to water agriculture.
A total of 31 dams with an average capacity of between 50,000 to 100,000 cubic meters and 4,200 water pans with an average capacity of 1,000 to 3,000 cubic meters of water are being constructed or rehabilitated across the country. Once completed, the government hopes that the projects will help add an additional 500,000 acres of land under irrigation.
We have only 480,000 acres of land under irrigation in the country. If all goes well, it would mean that we shall have done what the nation has not done for over 50 years.
Despite being relatively small and prone to silting, the government maintains that the community dams are still a better option.
The Wake Dam is going to cost the government 37 billion shillings to harvest 100 million cubic meter of water, to irrigate between 80,000 to 100,000 acres of land. These dams will be able to cultivate 400,000 acres of land.
At least 21 billion shillings is estimated to have been lost in the planned development of the Aurora and Kimorer mega dams alone, with many of the government's other mega dams yet to slake the country's thirst. The projects have barely picked up despite the government pumping in billions of shillings. Victor Kiprop, NTV.
Well, the rise of a fungus that is silently spreading around the world has been detected in Kenya. In the Daily Nation tomorrow, read about why Candida auris embodies a serious and growing public health threat. You do not want to miss your copy of the Daily Nation tomorrow. All right, and that is where we take yet another break. When we come back, Julian Samboko will be bringing you all the day's business news.
It's time to get down to business. Welcome, I am Julian Amboko. Kenyans will have to pay more for their favorite meal of ugali after the cost of a 2-kilogram packet of maize flour shot by between 10 and 20 shillings in various parts of the country. This as farmers hoard their produce, leading to high prices of the grain in the market, resulting from dwindling supplies. Gabriel Kudaka with the details.
For quite some time, farmers in the North Rift region have complained of lack of market for their maize after the National Cereals and Produce Board delayed to purchase their grain. And even after opening doors to farmers, NCPB went ahead to cap the purchase of maize at 400 bags per farmer, which is much less than what medium to large-scale farmers harvest.
A farmer with 5,000 bags, what is 400 bags to him? We are holding maize for 2017. We are holding maize for 2018, and there is no market for it.
Out of desperation, some farmers decided to hold the grain, hoping for better prices, resulting to the current shortage for millers.
Na kutoka asubuhi mpaka saizi nimepandisha mahindi to 2,600 na sipati mahindi.
Ordinarily, this mill is a hive of activity, but today the situation is different. For the more than 1 hour that we spent here, only this pickup was spotted delivering maize.
Just 2 weeks ago, millers were buying a 90-kilogram bag of maize at 1,700 shillings, but now they have to pay 2,600 for the same, and the price is likely to increase with time.
At Mfalme Unga Limited, a bale of flour now costs 1,170 shillings, up from 850 shillings. Other millers have had to increase the cost of the end product, citing rising costs in sourcing for maize.
Nimepata unga imeongezeka kidogo. Last time ilikuwa 79, but saizi ni 89.
Wateja wanalalamika kwa sababu mwenye alinunua lasa akipanda imeshoot kidogo, analalamika kidogo kwa vile alikuwa amejipanga na ile alikuwa nayo.
A 2-kilo packet has been averaging at 85 shillings since February this year, as millers enjoyed high supply of cheap maize in the market. But a packet now goes for 109 shillings in Nairobi. National Cereals and Produce Board has only managed to buy 400,000 bags of maize against the required 2 million bags of maize for its strategic food reserves. Gabriel Kudaka, NTV.
And we'll be looking to see how that story by Gabriel Kudaka impacts inflation numbers in April this year. Elsewhere, cuttings fell on the full-year earnings season for commercial banks just about a week ago, and by and large, it was joy as many reported a rebound to profitability coming off a challenging environment in 2017. For some, however, it blew the lid on a fragile financial position. Let's take a look. In the full year ended December 2018, Spire Bank posted a loss after tax of 2.3 billion shillings, sinking further into the red compared to its loss of 1.1 billion in 2017. This loss position was informed by a 56% decline in the bank's operating income to 245 million shillings, as its income from interest plunged from 284 million to a paltry 61 million shillings. This is not where the bank's woes stop, however. Looking through the numbers in greater detail reveals that Spire Bank's capital adequacy position is wanting, questioning its day-to-day operations whilst under the watch of the Central Bank of Kenya. In 2017, the bank's core capital, which is the minimum capital prescribed by CBK for a commercial bank to be in operation, stood at 987 million shillings, falling below the CBK's prescribed 1 billion shillings. In 2018, its core capital fell to a negative position at 1.7 billion shillings, suggesting the bank is in need of capital injection to sustain operations. Another indicator which suggests Spire Bank is confronting financial headwinds include its liquidity ratio, which in essence measures how easily a lender can convert assets into cash to settle debt. As at the close of 2018, it had a liquidity ratio of 10.1%, against a statutory requirement minimum of 20%, further questioning how the bank remains in operation. Spire Bank, however, says that it is scouting for a strategic investor to help resolve the present situation. Spire Bank came into being in 2016 following a rebrand from Equatorial Commercial Bank, just a year after Mwalimu Sacco acquired a 51% stake in the bank. And for more details on this story, do grab your copy of the Business Daily tomorrow. The government has shelved the idea of building a second runway at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport in favor of upscaling the quality of service provision at some of its terminals. Transport Cabinet Secretary James Macharia says the rebuilding of the terminals is currently more important than adding the second runway. Alex Mwangi with the details.
In light of increasing competition from Addis Ababa and Johannesburg as Africa's premier aviation hub, the government is keen to expand the capacity of the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, targeting to get to 12.5 million passengers per annum over the short term.
That will not come along because of a second runway. It will come along because we have made Jomo Kenyatta Airport a hub, whereby all the terminals are fully utilized.
Terminals 1B, C, and D are the ones targeted for an upgrade. The shelving of the idea to build a second runway comes as the government weighs its financial options, given that such infrastructure projects tend to deepen a country's debt position.
If you are transit, but you don't have the terminals which you require, then you're not getting anywhere by doing a second runway.
In 2016, the government shelved the idea of the construction of the 56 billion shilling Greenfield terminal, which was meant to handle 20 million passengers per annum. Macharia also took the opportunity to clarify the position on the national carrier status on the purchase of Boeing 737 MAX planes.
Kenya Airways had not committed at all to buy the MAX. And that's a decision which, of course, they'll be looking into in the future. That's a commercial decision, taking into account the risk factors.
Boeing's shares have tumbled since it cut its production of its 737 MAX 8 model, following a series of events that have led many to believe that its MCAS system, and not pilot error, was to blame for the two crashes in a span of 5 months that saw the loss of 346 lives. Alex Mwangi, NTV.
Now, as the clock ticks ahead of the 2019-2020 budget allocation season, various counties have already started making plans to increase their revenues. The county government of Busia today launched an online tax collection system set to curb the misappropriation of funds. Busia Governor Sospita Ojamong said that the system will mitigate corruption, which has been eating into the county's coffers. This even as Taita Taveta County government today held a strategic budget allocation meeting ahead of the community public participation set to begin from 11th to 17th of April across all 20 wards of the county. The county says it is aiming at collecting 300 million shillings this year, an increase from 100 million shillings collected in 2018-2019.
Tuseme kwamba tunaanzisha pay bill yetu leo ili wale ambao wanahudumia katika revenue, madeni ya ukusanyaji wa ushuru, wasiwe wanashika pesa. Hii pesa huwa inalipwa kupitia kwa pay bill yetu na inaenda kwa account ya county bila kupitia kwa mtu wowote.
Na hii inaitwa own source of revenue, ile pesa kukata ushuru. Saa nyingine tunaweka, lakini unakuta kwamba mwaka ukiisha unakuta kwamba hiyo pesa hatujafikia hapo. Lakini tumeweka mikakati kadha wa kadha. Na mwaka huu Taita Taveta, ukiangalia hata kwa magazeti, ile own source of revenue inaonekana ikipanda.
And that's all we had to transact tonight. Up next is the financial report.
Well, we're glad you could stay with us. You're watching NTV Tonight. Now, Wote town in the county of Makueni has its place in the list of water-scarce areas. Residents have for many years had to find ways to find the rare but vital commodity. Christopher Mbithi saw the opportunity created here and began a water vending business. He started by fetching and selling water using a bicycle, but now he owns 4 donkeys, which he uses to deliver the water. Mbithi says his journey has been a tough one, but he's reaping the fruit of his hard work. Tonight on My Job, Mel Miender brings us the story of Wote's famous water vendor.
In the dry and dusty Wote town is where we find Christopher Mbithi. While the unforgiving weather is unwelcome here, for him it is a blessing in disguise. His business thrives. We meet him fetching water and loading up the jerrycans onto his donkeys, ready for deliveries to the market and also households. It is through this job that Mbithi bought 4 donkeys to boost his business. Before, he sold water using his bicycle, but now things are different.
Najua mahali unajikaza, unatia bidii. Kuna faida ambayo unapata. So najikaza kwa hii kazi na naona inanilisha kwa sababu inanipatianga pesa za matumizi kila siku.
In just one day, Mbithi can do up to 10 rounds of fetching and selling water.
Kwa siku punda moja nabebanga mitungi 4. Kwa hivyo punda ni 4 wanabebanga mitungi 16 na mtungi ni 15.
For 3 years as a water vendor, Mbithi says the business has helped him fend for his needs and those of his family. With 2 children in school, it has been his main upkeep, a job he does not take for granted even through the ups and downs.
Kuna watu wengi wanakaanga bila kufanya kazi sababu wanasemanga ati hakuna kazi, wanalilia serikali, si serikali tutafutie kazi. Naweza waambia wajikaze.
It is a job that lacks consistency, he says, one that is dependent on water scarcity, marred with various challenges, especially the fact that his mode of transporting the water is using donkeys.
Kuna wakati punda walikuja wakakusanywa, wakapelekwa mahali, na chenye tulifanya tuliungana sisi wachota maji, tukaenda kwa kituo, ndipo hapo tukapewa ruhusa, tukaendewa punda, alafu tukarudi kwa kazi tena.
A threat that Mbithi has to face every day. For now, he seeks for his own well-being and that of his animals.
Unafanya kazi mpaka ngiza inaingia, na mahali pa kufunga ama pa kulisha hauna, so inakubidi watafutie mahali utatoa chakula. Wakati mwingine tunawanunulia chakula, ukikosa kuwanunulia hawatatoboa hii kazi.
Mbithi hopes that this will not be the end of growing his business. As need arises, he is keen on making the best of every opportunity.
Mimi natarajia nikiendelea hivyo ninunue tuseme hizi tuktuk za kubeba maji, niache kuchota na punda.
Mel Miendo, NTV.
From 1 bicycle to 4 donkeys and hoping for even better in the coming future. And we wish him all the best from, Wote in Makueni. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, sports with Watson Karuma.
Welcome to NTV Sport. I'm Watson Karuma. I may have gone, but I never really left. And let's move on. Gor Mahia chairman Ambrose Rachir has warned striking players of unspecified drastic action. Gor players have been on a go-slow demanding bonuses and allowances from their wins and participation in KPL as well as CAF competitions. Rachir assured that the players will be paid once the money is available, noting that bonuses are not an entitlement but a form of appreciation from the club. Gor Mahia lost 2-0 to Moroccan side RS Berkane, complicating the Kenyan champions' chances of progressing in the CAF Confederations Cup. Gor play Bandari in the FKF Sport Pesa Shield before departing for Morocco on Thursday for their return tie.
This time round, Philip Otieno will wonder why he didn't clear this quickly enough. On the Berkane side have another reason to celebrate. It's probably the easiest of goals here. And the fans from the Moroccan side will be celebrating El Ali's goal. He surely just picked it up from the defender right in front of him and turned and put it in the net.
Now, Harambee Stars fans have a chance to win tickets to go watch the team take part in the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations finals in Cairo, Egypt. Football Kenya Federation, in partnership with online betting firm Betin, launched a promotion dubbed Shindana Stars, where 6 fans will win a fully paid trip to Egypt. Fans have to register by sending messages to 29881 and take part by answering questions to be eligible for the daily, weekly and monthly draws. There are 74 days to the continental showpiece, part of which the national team will train in France from late May.
Sisi tunawahakikishia tutawalipa na watawaambia wenyewe tumewalipa na hizo pesa zitatumika vile inafaa. Ndio sasa tuache mambo ya kuongelea mambo ya pesa. Competition ni hizi, package iko hapa, the team wamejitolea, technology iko in place. We have put in place what you need to be done. So what we are asking you to do now, support us by supporting the team. And after we go to the Cup of Nations, wacha mambo yako kiwanja. Wacha iwe tulipoteza bao ama tukafungwa, lakini yetu kama wa Kenya, we have supported the boys, we have given them everything they need.
It's a big deal for Kenyans, and we want to make this opportunity as exciting as possible to take Kenyans on board to this journey to AFCON. In the same regard, Betin further commits supporting the campaign, and we'll do this by ensuring that the Shindana Stars promotion campaign message is run all throughout the campaign, and we'll make sure that Kenyans are aware about this campaign in order to participate and to join along in this journey to AFCON.
The National Sevens team quest to avoid relegation from the World Rugby Sevens series continues in Singapore later this week. Shujaa has been pulled alongside USA, England and fellow relegation-threatened Wales. Kenya is currently placed 13th after collecting 5 points in Hong Kong this past weekend. With the return of some senior players, Shujaa made it past the Challenge Trophy quarter-final for the 3rd time this season after the Las Vegas and Hamilton legs. Coach Paul Murunga will be returning to Singapore, having guided Shujaa to a victory of the leg in 2016 as an assistant coach.
Push him, Wally, lovely late cut. Oh, that's sublime.
Kenya's representative at the Africa Volleyball Club Championships, Prisons and GSU will battle for 7th and 9th position respectively after losing in their respective classification matches in Cairo, Egypt. Prisons, who lost to Smuha in straight sets in the quarters, also went down 3-1 to Uganda's Nemo Stars, who have been the surprise team in the championship. GSU will face Gisagare from Rwanda after going down in straight sets to Uganda Christian University. Defending champions Ali Egypt will play Al Sweli of Libya in the first semi-final, while Libya's Ali Tripoli battle Smuha of Egypt in the other semi-final. Now it's all to play for as Chelsea look to maintain their challenge for a top 4 finish in the English Premier League with the London derby against West Ham tonight. The Blues moved up to 5th on Wednesday as under fire Mauricio Sarri made changes to inspire a comfortable 3-0 home victory over Brighton. The 4 teams battling for the 2 remaining Champions League qualification places, that is Tottenham, Arsenal, Chelsea and Manchester United, are separated by 4 points, having played 32 games each. And Sarri's men can go 3rd with 3 points against the Hammers. is something that brightens any sports fan. Now, Kenya's Chipu rewrote history by breaking a 6-year losing streak to Namibia. Kenya beat Namibia 21-18 to seal their spot in next year's World Rugby Under-20 trophy. Beldad Ogeta's try is our moment of the weekend. Brilliant stuff right there. Well, I'm happy to be back, but I can't stay for longer. I'll be handing it over back to Zainab Ismail. As for me, have a lovely night.
And indeed, it is fantastic to have you back, Watson. Well, that's a wrap from us here on NTV Tonight. And our sign language interpreter this evening was David Agondoa. Mark Masai is up next with Press Plus. You do not want to miss that very intriguing conversation. My name is Zainab Ismail. Good evening.